Ooh. Some people, they so disappointed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the dawn of a new era. In the South, we have some trouble with I got this going a little while ago, and now I don't like it. So I'm gonna have to work something out. No, have I got? Yeah, I gotta get that off. I was liking it, I was. But somehow when I got back, it just was not the same. So, I don't know why that even was. Maybe it is because that's what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I've lost a friend. Man, I knew this guy for so many decades, ever since I was a little kid on the street. I mean, even before I left home. Yeah, 40, 45 years. It's a long time. But part of what was going on is there's no easy way to put it. I knew this guy. I ran away from home when I was about 15 or something like that. And he used to be an auto mechanic, and he had a neck injury and couldn't do that work anymore. And he went to this rough neighborhood. It was rough back then. It was pretty rough. And opened an antique store, and eventually, bought the little shop and became a property owner in the ghetto. And the neighborhood went up and up, and then he moved down to the coast, and many years went by, but he ended up owning several buildings. And this is a good way to start out. My purpose, I've always been a teacher, and I like, I'm kind of not a big entrepreneurial. I am not an entrepreneurializationalist. I'm not. Got a glimpse. Ooh, there's more. I've always been a teacher. My mom was a teacher. My dad, unbeknownst to me, until after my mama died, he was a teacher too. And also a preacher. He was a preacher and stuff. So that's part of the reason. I guess so. But I'm a teacher, and I try to share things to beneficialize people. Now, I'm down here in the Deep South, home of Deputy Dog. If y'all remember the Deputy Dog cartoon. It's like that some places. So my friend who passed away, he was a big drinker of this fabulous drink, Dr. Thunder. So let's have a toast to James Aldo Harts. He was a recovered alcoholic, but he recovered from alcoholism, I think, early. He became an alcoholic maybe in late teens, and recovered, and never drank again in his 20s. And he always, did a lot of uplift. Um, but he, I mentioned, and just, to make it clear where we were, I guess 79 or so, 1979, I'm showing my age. Um, we were at this place that's called Little Five Points up Moreland Avenue from the old Colonial Bread Factory, which is not there anymore. That factory's gone, daddy gone. But it was some real ghetto up there. Kirkwood, Second Ave, Moreland and stuff. And when it got, when you go up Moreland from the south in those days, it was like Moreland was the indicator that you was in trouble. And it stopped. It used to be Briarcliff, right? Now the Coca-Cola family lived up there on Briarcliff, up by the insane asylum, or no, the Georgia Mental Health Institute. They had their mansion up there, right? So it's like in old Atlanta, it was like the south of the city was the place where they pushed the poor people. So the guy I'm talking about, James Aldo Harts, and I never pried into his personal business. So all I can do is kind of go from memory about things that he told me. But as my father was not present in those days, and I had run away from home because of domestic violence. He's one of those people that was like playing that father role. You remember that little book they had where the little bird is like, "Are you my mama?" And the dog said, "I ain't your mama." And the bird going around, "Are you my mama?" to the pig, and the pig's like, "Oink, oink, I ain't your dang mama." So there's a lot to that little story. But for me, I was running from my mama because she kicked my ass. She had that Southern methodology, pedagogical methodology: spare the rod and spoil the child. But man, my jaw, man, it was messed up. But we're a product of our time. I don't want. Like if my sister was up in here talking about my mama, ooh, she would lambast and castigationalize this behind it. She would. She has never got over the corporal punishment end of things, right? Now, me, the thing that I did is I ran away from home because my mom was, hit me too much, upside my head too many times, right? And broke my stuff. Put my TV outside. She was cleaning the house, put my TV outside, and it rained on it. And back then, man, a TV was expensive, and my stepdad, the guy that thought he was my daddy because he had raped my mom, he had got me a little black and white TV, and my mom was. She didn't mean to get my TV rained on, but when she did, man. It's like, man, I can't take it anymore. She busted me in my mouth and for wrong things, saying it's like the judge, jury, and execution. I get this from my wife sometimes. It's like, you think thus and so, and I condemn that. Well, she don't know what I'm down thinking. Yes, I do. I know what you think. No, you don't. I was thinking about a cheese sandwich. You was thinking about me doing this and that and condemning me. No. It's funny. She's just like my mom. My mom would do that too. And that's the thing where it's like, oh, there's no exit. This is hell. There's no exit. Right. So when I was 15, I ran away from home, and I was scrounging down in the ghetto. Well, at that time, like Little 5 Points was kind of transitionalizationalism, and Eldo was an example of, and this is just all I know in conversation, wherever, to the best of my memory, he told me, he was like, well, I worked on car, I had my little auto mechanic business, and I messed my neck up, and I just could not do that work anymore. And I went over to uh, get a little space over Moreland Avenue way, by, down by Major Fine Furniture. The Stocks family business was there, and that's still owned by the daughter of the Major Fine Furniture place or whatever. Um, but I've been gone. He was down in coastal Georgia, and his he has two young adult children that suffer from disabilities that are probably related to him. That he passed on to them, um, which he continuously grieved about, and worried about his children and stuff, and trying to do the best that he can. And he had got a building right at the edge of Little 5 Points, and he renamed it the Hearts Building. And I've been gone because I was trying to help him manage it. When the pandemic hit, you could, if you were in a business space or whatever, uh, you could stop paying rent and say, "Oh, I got no customers," and you couldn't be evicted, right? So, um, man, do you realize what the taxes is? It's people think, "Oh, you own a building? That ain't nothing." Man, the government is going to take that building if you don't pay all those taxes, or whatever. And it's not cheap, right? So people in the pandemic was like, "Oh, we don't have any customers, and so we can't." And they had customers. They had a massage parlor, and they're making money hand over fist. And the best of my knowledge, when they built up a lot of money and had not paid any rent, it looked like the walls was closing in on them, and the pandemic was coming to an end, and the building owner was about to come back up and find out what they ass was doing up in there. Man, they was in Honduras. It was gone, daddy gone, right? So this is real life experience. And here you got, and I saw a lot of people very hostile. Oh, you're the landlord. Let's kill him. Yeah, the evil oppressor. And he's not making that much money. Right? And he about to lose the damn building. All you guys don't pay. How's he gonna pay the thousands and thousands of property taxes if y'all ain't damn well paying your rent? It's not like the dead Kennedys. It's really not. Um, um, and when you think about it, you got a person like this, an auto mechanic, and hold on a minute. I'm about sick and tired of that. I love the screensaver, but I don't like the audio. Why do you make my life so tough? It seems I can't love you hardly enough. You're so heavenly. Much too much for me. Oh, I'm back in the saddle again. I'm really off my game too. This is great, man. I love this Medusa hat thing. Love it. I need to use it more, but I don't know, man. I am trying to not be depressionalizationalism, but the last couple of days I've been really going through some stuff. Just hatred I see, and it can get you down. Um, but again, I was gone. I went over, and if you, I guess some of you, if you had been watching when I did come on, you could see that we moved the school over into a building, another building. We had a whole floor up in there, and he he had wackos in the building, maybe doing lease violations, and they're struggling, dropouts or whatever. I don't know what their deal was. It was hanging out with uh, human trafficked, drug dealing tarot card readers of things. They got real mad at me. I was like, darling, if you're a human trafficked, drug addict, alcoholism, recoveralized, and psychotic break person, you need to get out of this neighborhood and get over in treatment, girl. She's like, oh, I'm gonna be living on your fire escape. No, you ain't. Oh, it's just so many things happen, man. I can't even touch it all. And then oh, let me start crying. Oh, let me start. Why do bad things happen to good people? Well, it's because it's more going on in the world than just you, right? uh, my friend died. My friend died. And I'm trying to get my head back on straight. But let me start over. Um, I I I ran away from home when I was about 15 years old or whatever, and I was really on the street a lot, even from maybe 78, 79, thereabouts, and in Atlanta, like if you want a comparison, and I'm not just pulling this out of my hat. I got this from Chat GPT. Now, right now in Atlanta, we got a neighborhood called the Bluff, right? And the it's the most dangerous neighborhood. That's what it's called, right? In Atlanta, and the Bluff is um, just North Avenue when you're going through the scientific Georgia Tech campus or whatever, the epicenter of scientific uh, in, investigationalizes, and you're going on North Avenue westerly, there's a neighborhood there, and it's called the Bluff, and it's the most dangerous neighborhood in Atlanta, and it's considered the number 5 most dangerous neighborhood in the United States. And what I was about to say is, if you research like what the little 5 Points neighborhood was in 79, it would say it's closest to what the Bluff is today. That's shocking, right? For a lot of people, I think. A lot of people just, would not even go to the Bluff. I would go, and some people might be interested. The Bluff was solid white. It was a solid white and just prime real estate, because it's sitting right there on the Georgia Tech, the prestigious Georgia Tech campus, right? Why did it go bad? And this is my position is this, and this is based on my experience. In those days, okay, here's the Bluff back then. When my older brother was in high school, it was a solid white neighborhood, prime real estate, right next to the Georgia Tech campus. What happened? The poor people got pushed there. And those poor people, well, I mean, they happen to be black. It's not really about skin. It's about pushing people that you can push. Some people, you push them and they don't move, right? Because they got resources and stuff, and they can stop you from pushing them, right? But if they're Native Americans or Hispanics or blacks or something like that, you can push them. They got nowhere else to go. Now, why did they get pushed there? Well, here's what I would say, in my experience, and don't take my word for it. Research about it. It's like we used to have an incinerator right in the center of downtown Atlanta, and all the garbage of the city was burned there, and it was just smoke. That's where the Omni Hotel and CNN Center and stuff is right now, and the World Congress Center. That's where that they burned all the garbage. And then you have just a little bit north there, you've got the Georgia Tech campus, and they got the Neyland nuclear facility with this cracked reactor vessel authorized by the Nuclear Regulatory System to release radionuclides into the neighborhoods as a matter of legal procedure. Supposed to be monitored and stuff like that. And anything being released in the chemistry department or all the research at Georgia Tech. So the prevailing winds in Atlanta are westerly, right? So you have to ask yourself, why is it that turned into the ghetto? And people would say, well, it's institutional. I would say institutional racism is a better thing because it's kind of more mindless, right? And I would like to articulate it this way to make it less about the color of people's skin. It's when you're poor, the forces are pushing on you, and you don't have the strength, or resources to stop getting pushed where you're being pushed to. And that's how the Bluff got to be the way it was. And the little 5 Points neighborhood back in the day when my friend first got his little antique shop there and stuff, it was like that. And it took some bravery, to be down there. And today you got all these kids living up in there. Oh, we're the cool counterculture and all this stuff like that. No, you're not. Well, yeah, if you get pride in that, you're the counterculture, or the super cool, ain't got nothing except you're a fool kind of people. No, I'm sorry. Don't call people foolish. But my friend saved this old building and renovated it, and he had a lot of people with recovering alcoholics and stuff like that. He, because he was a recovering alcoholic, he could he would look around, and I think the antique store sort of exhibits part of this characteristic of this kind of person. He had been broken and messed up and alcoholic and cast aside or whatever, and he recovered, right? And he had that ability to look, oh, you're an alcoholic, but you went to AA and you recovered. Let me see what I can do to help you, right? And he built up that neighborhood. A lot of times, and there's two factors. It's like if I get a contractor I can't afford, they overcharge me and cheat me and they don't fix it, and they think I'm made out of money because I own the building and I ain't got it, and I'm about to put my shop on auction because I got thousands of dollars of taxes to pay and stuff. But anyway, what I'm saying is like we're not all saints. He's a saint in aspects, right? Especially to me. He was very beneficial to me. But I benefited. He paid me when I went down there here recently. Really, he gave me the whole floor. He had a vacant floor on this building, right? And he just gave it to me and said, "Well, I'm going to pay you to be up in here." I was so honored by that. To go from being, some just kid on the street back in the 70s to have a guy go, "I'm going to put you in a building as resident manager for me, right? And you can start your business, your school, your nonprofit school in the building. And not only that, but I'm going to pay you to do it." That, for me, was really, really an honor. He really honored me by doing that. And I just try my best to live up to that. I want to be right. I want to be a good and decent person. And I'm really off my game because I am, I'm married. I have a child. I can't be crying and depression and all this stuff. I gotta have my head on straight. But I gotta be perfectly honest. I'm out of whack. But I'm trying. It's some funny stuff people do. One of the people that he had in the building is like, "Oh, she's just going to start the next Creative Loaf," and it's just a left-wing journalist and stuff. And that's cool. I think we got to have balance and stuff. I'm not right-wing or left-wing. I think we all fools. I know it. People so arrogant, right? Think they understand stuff. People that right-wing, they're just like, "Hey, man, I'm doing all right, man. Don't mess stuff up." And a lot of people, I think, that are right-wing, they look around and they got family members that are homeless or whatever, and they're like, "I know why boy homeless. He's sniffing cocaine. That's why he's homeless. He's an alcoholic, right?" You're talking about, oh, we need to, have a revolution and stuff because of homelessness and stuff. 80%, yeah, possibly 80% of them are out there and homeless and chronic homeless because of drug addiction and substance abuse and stuff. And it's complicated and stuff. I am an advocate. If you want to know my position, I support the housing first. Like, don't conditionalizationalism, right? Don't tell people, "Oh, you gotta love Jesus and be in church and blah, 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 blah. You ain't getting nothing." Who made you the guardian of the gate of hell? Right? No. Jesus came to call sinners. Why you hate sinners so much? Jesus loved them. It's like these people. Anyway, I'm trying to say, if you want to know me, I'm like, get people in damn shelter in a house, man. Because, man, if you don't, they're gonna mess up everybody, right? And also, the thing about it is the outcomes when we look at housing first, the policy toward the homeless of like, first thing, get them off the street, right? The outcomes are just hands down, the statistics are in favor of that. They're gonna have a better chance and better chance of long-term recovery. if you get your dang ideology out of things. So, Methodists, Presbyterianization, Protestantationalism. So nobody can understand what you're talking about. You're lying. What you're doing? You're in business. The first church of what's happening now. I ain't going in there and have you read me from the altar. You forget that. To Eldo. All right, so one of the things I've been thinking about is the end of teachers, right? Which, maybe it's time, but one of the things I like to do in my class is like, be frank and say, maybe it's time to get rid of teachers, man. We're not doing well or whatever. But what I mean by that really is that can't we get to an era, since we have these powerful computers and stuff like that, where we encourage people to use artificial intelligence to facilitate their learning on their own, right? Because a lot of the learning that I did happened in spite of school. And I never learned, here's an example. When I was in high school at Columbia, man, we had to study Julius Caesar, the play. That was how they talk about Shakespeare. We didn't even look at Romeo and Juliet. We're looking at Julius Caesar, right? Miss Vaughn, or whatever. Remember March, the Ides of March. Remember, did not great Julius bleed for justice' sake? What villain touched his body that to stab, if not for justice? What is it? Shall we now contaminate our hands with such base bribes as may be grasped thus? I had rather be a dog and bathe the moon than such a Roman. I still don't appreciate that play. I mean, Titus Andronicus, I like. They never taught me that in school, man. That's a horror, man. That's a horror play, right? And Macbeth. And the first time I watch Macbeth over and over and over and over and over. I still watch it. It's great. I try to get my wife to watch it. Don't watch damn Game of Thrones, children. Right? Don't. Wasting your time. Right? Richard III is what you need to be watching. Because it's something, when you get it, man, you'll never stop watching it. It's really a good play. But I didn't get Richard III in school. I didn't get the Henriade in school. I accidentally, somebody made this Titus Andronicus into a movie, and Coriolanus was a fail. It was a big fail of a Shakespeare play, right? No, as far as a movie, I don't mean as a play. It's a great play, but they made Coriolanus is the last tragedy of Shakespeare, and Titus Andronicus is the first tragedy. But it's in the first of the portfolio, and it's a horror. It's a horror play. It's very bloody, cannibalism and stuff. Horrible, very frightening and stuff. But in school, I didn't get it, right? And my point is, we're in a crisis of dumb down here. I mean, worldwide, we're not doing good, not doing right, and if we don't fix things, time is short for the human race, right? So in my brief moment here, I like to, having just come out of a teaching family, I have a teacher tendency, but at the same time, you're like, oh, well, I joined the system and work in the system, Yeah, I did that for many years or whatever, and I've had enough. Want to get out and just do what I want to do in the way that I want to do it, and try to teach that way. So I don't know if y'all experience it. Did you have to? Were you forced to study Julius Caesar, the Shakespeare play? Why did they pick that one? Michael Parenti actually did recently a new. Well, it's not new now, but a while back he went back and looked at Julius Caesar, the person again, the historical figure, and I think he makes a good argument of why the establishment or whatever thinks that that's the Shakespeare that we should be studying. So if you're interested in why getting some idea of what forces might be behind not looking at Coriolanus. I never learned about Coriolanus, the Shakespeare play in school, or Titus Andronicus. I never even heard of that. Right? And the plays that I really got into earliest, I guess, was Macbeth. Now, how did it happen? Well, back when I was first out on my own, it was a fad for watching Japanese movies, the samurai movies, and Kurosawa, Ikura. Ikura. No, it's Akira. Akira, not Ikura, right? Ikura is squid, right? That's the thing you eat, right? With your, like, ikanato in the sushi bar or whatever like that. So yeah, that's some Japanese might be offended if you make that mistake. I'll never forget it because I've done it before. I've called him Ikura instead of Akira. Akira Kurosawa. He did this samurai movie, and I watched it, and I was like, "This is awesome!" Right? Came to me from a totally different angle. It was called Throne of Blood. And then there was something familiar about it, and somebody said, "Oh yeah, that's Macbeth. It's the play Macbeth of Shakespeare, but it's done like a Japanese samurai movie. Watch it." Right? If you're like, I would never, watch Macbeth or that play or whatever like that. I would never do that. Watch The Throne of Blood, right? And then it might open the door to watching and appreciating what Macbeth has to offer philosophically. It's a warner to whoso would be warned. It's like a warning of doing making bad decisions and stuff. Listening to advice of people that it's inadvisable to listen to. Right? We do that a lot. Yeah. A friend of mine passed away. Yeah. Did a lot of good things. He did some bad things, and he was messed up. Uh, um, I would like to say there's so many things that I want to say. It's really hard. But let me say this. One night over there in that ghetto neighborhood, he had a payroll or something. He had a drawer from a store. I'm not sure, and I know he was so never the same after this night. What happened? Uh, Very compassionate, caring, loving, beautiful human being with his failings, a recovered alcoholic, and a guy put a butcher knife in his belly. Didn't stab him, but he's like, "Man, I'm robbing you." And I know he was so messed up by this that I just let him say as much as he wanted to say. So when I tell this story, I'm just telling it from memory, and human memory is fallible, but it went something like this. There he is, he's in this back parking lot, and he's got a big knife in his stomach, and the guy's like, "Give me your money." And he was like, "Blam!" He reached, he just made that lightning decision of, man, this guy, I give him the money, man. First of all, that's gonna put me out of business, right? I'll be ruined, and next thing he gonna stab me anyway. How do I know he's not? I mean that was the neighbor. It was crack and stuff. I mean, I think the crack epidemic was on and stuff. And him being familiar with Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous and stuff like that, and knowing the neighborhood and the killings and the shootings and stuff, and from back then and stuff that was going on, he made that lightning decision and got the drop on him and saved his own life for sure. He sure did. But the thing about it is, in a human, we were talking about this close to the time that he died here recently. Is that in human behavioral biology, we know that neural pathway can be opened, and this is probably tied to PTSD, right? It's like in your brain is like a gland, right? And it's doing these responses to get your physical behavior, to keep you alive. But in an environment, like a war zone, battlefield, or something like that, the likelihood that you're going to survive is going to require some very lightning responses. And we know now in human behavioral biology that sometimes a neural pathway opens up and it doesn't close. So after that, you always have this threshold where when somebody pushes you, you're ready, to fight. And it's hard to go back to just a completely regular life. It's like you become sort of a weirdo. I'll give you an example. My mother's first husband was a highly decorated infantry veteran of the European theater of World War II. And he never got right. He's the Colonel Kurtz of our family. He rejoined. He survived World War II, which is a miracle in and of itself, right? And came back home and used pregnancy as a device to keep the wife in line because she was always asking for stuff, right? And he was like, barefoot and pregnant. That's the way to keep them, right? But he was had that thing of for example, I need to have the TV on blaring, or he can't sleep. In fact, he died as a result of alcohol and barbiturates. He was trying to cure his alcoholism after the end of the Korean War, and my mom had to divorce him because he beat up my sister so bad. He feared, she feared, my mom feared for her life, and my two eldest sisters, going through all the things that they went through, they both got clinical depression that they never fully recovered from, and lived in pain, a lot of pain. And this is it ties into people not being sympathetic to people, military people, or certain kinds of people. And my friend, he had this reputation. After he was almost killed and killed his assailant or whatever, he got a lot of bad press for being kind of a vigilante in the neighborhood, cleaning up the neighborhood and going around and cracking down on people and stuff. And but he kept going into that PTSD mode, that of fight, and permanently in his life, there's always a question in his interaction. Well, this person seems nice, but they could be a killer. We have to be prepared for that.